Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Tian Buji was drenched in sweat from his lack of confidence. He felt Yu Shangrong's bragging was too exaggerated and getting out of hand. He had witnessed the sparring session between Zhenghai, Yu Shangrong, and the monastery master, Xia Chengqiu. Based on their sparring sessions, the duo was evenly matched with the monastery master. They were both at the 8-leaf stage. Indeed, with their cultivation bases, the duo had all the reasons to feel proud of themselves. After all, 8-stage cultivators were also considered as main players in the cultivation world. However, compared to elites like Yizhen, 8-leaf cultivators were inferior. Faced with Liang Zidao, even Xia Chengqiu, the monastery master, would not confidently claim victory. Liang Zidao was known as a madman with a bloodlust. He had always been the Flying Star House's most valiant warrior in the past. Apart from the Flying Star House's 9-leaf elites, he had never lost to any 8-leaf cultivators before. At this moment, a person to Liang Zidao's left lowered his altitude for several meters. Then, he looked at Yu Shangrong and said, "The Flying Star House doesn't kill one without a name. What's your name?" As usual, Yu Shangrong did not behave conventionally. Instead, he said, "Since you're not going to listen to my advice, I'm afraid that I have no choice but to offend you." With that, he faded out of sight suddenly. The 8-leaf red lotus cultivator from the Flying Star House was taken aback. However, he did not summon his avatar. After witnessing his comrade's avatar being cleaved into two, he knew Yu Shangrong wielded a heaven-grade weapon. Liang Zidao shook his head. "Yuan, make it quick." Understood. Even an 8-leaf cultivator, Yuan, had to obey Liang Zidao's orders. Based on this, it was clear how strong Liang Zidao was. At this moment, Yu Shangrong reappeared and brought his sword down. Swoosh! Yuan was shocked. With a burst of movement, he hurriedly sped back to put some distance between him and Yu Shangrong. Yu Shangrong smiled faintly. Not bad. In the gazebo, Zhenghai shook his head as he said, "Second junior brother, you've already lost during the first move. It's too early to say that I've lost. Don't underestimate your opponent. If this geezer is deliberately concealing his cultivation base and suddenly reveals himself to be a 9-leaf cultivator, you'd be caught off guard," Zhenghai said with a hint of amusement. Yu Shangrong knew Zhenghai was joking, but he knew Zhenghai had a point as well. "Well, if it turns out there's a 9-leaf cultivator here, I'll just do what Old Fourth does." Yu Shangrong vanished again. In the next second, he appeared in front of Yuan and stabbed with his sword. He did not use any energy swords. The others were puzzled. Meanwhile, Yuan felt humiliated by his opponent. He launched several palm seals in the air. Yu Shangrong pirouetted and gracefully sidestepped the attacks. Ji Fengxing exclaimed, brimming with praises, "What swift movements." Tian Buji was puzzled. Why isn't he using his energy? Is he deliberately doing this? Yu Shangrong was at top speed. Red palm seals filled the skies, and yet, he avoided them nimbly with ease. Then, he drew closer to his opponent and swung his sword. The Traceless Sword. Yu Shangrong's longevity sword glowed with a red light as it fell toward Yuan's avatar. "I was waiting for this. Activate." The red lotus let out a wave of primal chi, not energy, that rocked forth. Yuan thought Yu Shangrong would stop attacking and retreat. Alas, his expectations were shattered. He really did not under Yu Shangrong at all. How could Yuan know that the sword devil, Yu Shangrong, would never back away? Once the sword was drawn, it would continue without care. Sideways slice. The sword left Yu Shangrong's hand, spinning. Yu Shangrong defended himself with his arms and flipped backward. He retreated steadily and gracefully. Bam! His longevity sword drew a cut across the Red Lotus avatar. Then, it flew in a circle around them before returning to Yu Shangrong's palm. Yuan glared at Yu Shangrong angrily before he looked at his own avatar with a slight embarrassment. His opponent managed to damage his avatar without even using energy. Although the cut was not deep or fatal, it was still a cut. For an elite, this was an unacceptable shame. Just when Yuan'er was about to charge again, a voice rang in the air. Yuan'er. Elder Liang. Yuan'er looked up, confused. Stand down. I'm not done. You're not a match for him. If he used his avatar earlier, you would have been grievously injured. Liang Zidao had been watching their exchanges before he came to this conclusion. Liang Zidao descended slowly. Yuan'er had no choice but to retreat respectfully. Liang Zidao looked at Yuan'er and said, "You're powerful. It's not worth mentioning." Yuan'er smiled faintly. "But, you're not powerful enough." As soon as Liang Zidao finished speaking, he launched energy fists into the air. The red punches shot toward Yuan'er like meteorites. Yuan'er had many combat experiences. He had anticipated Liang Zidao's sudden attack, so he raised his longevity sword. Bam! The energy fists landed on the sword. The two of them backed away from each other. This was merely a probing attack. What did Xia Chengxiu give you? Why is an elite like yourself willing to help him? Yuan'er lowered his sword and said calmly, "I'm a guest here. I can't just sit down and do nothing." Is that it? That's it. Liang Zidao felt like his intelligence was being mocked. He unleashed red energy from his body and charged toward his opponent like a cannonball. Yuan'er swung his sword. He started slow before he slowly picked up pace until the sword became a blur. This resembled the scene where he had cut the witchcraft tendrils above the abyss. Yuan'er could keep himself dry by swinging his sword when he was under a waterfall. He could also prevent snowflakes from touching him when it snowed. When he moved at his top speed, his movements could not be seen with the naked eye. At this moment, all that could be seen was a round area filled with blurry shadows. Liang Zidao was keeping Yuan'er busy as well. He kept hurling energy punches in an attempt to break through the sword shadows before Yuan'er. This sword technique. Ji Fengxing's eyes widened as an expression of shock appeared on his face. He's not giving it his all. This is nothing. Zhenghai shook his head. This isn't his best? Continue watching. At this moment, Liang Zidao finally summoned his avatar. When the Red Lotus avatar appeared, his speed doubled, and the energy punches in the air immediately converged. Bam! Yuan'er's sword shadows converged as well as he parried the energy punch. Then, he flipped backward. Do you think that I'm Yuan'er? Swoosh! Liang Zidao flew into his avatar and charged at Yuan'er with his Red Lotus. Ji Fengxing was inwardly delighted. It's a chance to slash his avatar. Yuan'er flipped his right palm and held his longevity sword in a reversed grip. Instead of retreating, he advanced. He faded out of focus and split into three. Young man. I'll teach you a lesson today. The Red Lotus flipped, blossomed, and spun. Yuan'er's three silhouettes merged into one as he struck with his sword. At the same time, Liang Zidao lunged forward with his avatar. What technique is this? Isn't he afraid of a heaven-grade weapon? Bam! Yuan'er's longevity sword drew across the Red Lotus. There was a collision of energies. However, the sword did not damage the avatar. When Yuan'er looked at the red leaves on the Red Lotus, he saw there were 8.5 leaves. Half of the 9th leaf had already sprouted. Energy flowed backward as Liang Zidao launched an energy punch. Yuan'er's amazing battle reflexes were displayed at this moment. His 8-leaf golden avatar towered in the air and turned around, meeting the energy punch. Bam! The energy punch landed on Yuan'er's avatar. A golden energy sword appeared on the longevity sword. Swoosh! Yuan'er retracted his avatar, he had deflected the attack. He continued attacking with his sword as usual. Whoosh! The longevity sword landed true, its tip pierced Liang Zidao's shoulder. The air seemed to have frozen over. Everyone looked terrified. Liang Zidao's eyes widened. He looked at his shoulder before looking at Yuan'er. An invader from the Golden Lotus domain? Tian Buji and the others frowned. The appearance of the golden avatar had shocked them. Xia Changqiu is colluding with those from the Golden Lotus domain. No wonder. I'll draw blood today. Everyone, attack. Don't let any of them go. The Flying Star House had been studying the Blackwater Mystic Cave for a long time. It was the earliest sect to send its members to the Golden Lotus domain. Initially, Liang Zidao intended to intimidate the Thousand Willow Monastery. However, with the appearance of the Golden Lotus, he discovered it was a great outlet for his bloodlust. At this moment, dozens of disciples emerged from Flying Star House's flying chariot. Along with the other disciples who were already on the scene, they circulated their primal qi. Yuan'er glanced at Tianbuji and said, "The Thousand Willow Monastery is colluding with the foreign tribes. Kill them all." Ji Fengxing and Wu were stunned. How? Golden? What's the meaning of this? Wu looked at Zhenghai. Zhenghai merely shook his head and said, "Second junior brother, are you still going to hold back against such a powerful opponent?" Shangrong raised his longevity sword and said, 8.5 leaf. Interesting. Then, he joined his palms together. His longevity sword split into 2, 4, 8. Primal restoration. Thousands upon thousands of energy swords appeared above Shangrong. 8.5 leaf? Zhenghai looked at Liang Zidao upon hearing Shangrong's words. The cultivators swarmed over. Shangrong summoned his avatar again as energy swords spun in the air. Several cultivators were struck down from the air. The sword Devil Destiny. With a grand technique, thousands of energy swords rained down on the Flying Star House disciples and struck them down easily. The energy swords continued to attack them relentlessly. Tianbuji and Ji Fengxing gulped. This is a second-grade sword technique? The disciples of the Flying Star House parried the countless energy swords. Those who were slightly distracted even for a second lost their lives. Young man. It's over. With a burst of movement, Liang Zidao entered the range of the sword Devil Destiny. Currently, his 8.5 leaf avatar was upside down. Its lotus was above while the avatar was below. The red lotus blocked the countless energy swords while he launched energy fists at his opponent. Big brother. Senior. Zhenghai frowned slightly. He placed his hand on his jasper saber. His fingers were shaking slightly. Second junior brother. Before Zhenghai could act, a smile bloomed on Shangrong's face. My apologies, I was aiming for the red lotus. Whiz. The golden avatar appeared again. Its arms and palms that shone with golden radiance held a huge energy sword and swung it down. What's this? The avatar can move? There's no golden lotus. Liang Zidao finally noticed that Shangrong was no longer holding his longevity sword. There was only an energy sword. The massive energy sword slashed down. Damn it! Liang Zidao felt a pang of pain. He grunted as a quarter of his red lotus was severed by the huge energy sword. Shangrong lowered his altitude and raised his hand gracefully. His avatar vanished, and the longevity sword flew in a circle in the sky before returning to him. Liang Zidao's face was flushed red. He was sent flying back for more than 100 meters, throwing up blood. Tianbuji stared at this scene with his mouth agape. Due to the exciting battle, he was filled with the urge to clap but restrained himself in the end. Was there ever an 8-leaf cultivator who could defeat an 8.5 leaf cultivator? Even Shangrong's eldest senior brother, Zhenghai, who always bickered with him, could not help but raise his hands and clap. What do you think? Shangrong smiled faintly. Zhenghai initially thought that his second junior brother had done a splendid job and wanted to applaud him. However, upon hearing Shangrong's question, he was immediately annoyed. Therefore, his reply was only lukewarm. It's not bad. Since you decided to expose your avatar, you could have killed that 8-leaf cultivator with a single sword strike if you wanted to. That's the advantage of hindsight, Shangrong said. Let's see how you're going to handle this now. The 8-leaf cultivator, Yuan'er, who was hovering near the flying chariot, was filled with incredulity and pain at the same time. He could hardly believe that Liang Zidao, who was unrivaled among his peers, was injured by an 8-leaf cultivator. What bothered him even more was that the opponent was chatting as though this was nothing and did not think much about them at all. After a part of his avatar's lotus was severed, Liang Zidao flew back for more than 100 meters before he could stabilize his footing. Flames of fury burned in his eyes as he glared at Yu Shangrong with a dark expression. The killing intent and hatred in his eyes were uncontrollably intense. However, anger and hatred did not make him lose his mind or act recklessly. Liang Zidao ordered, Yuan, report this to Elder Yizhen. Understood. Yuan turned around, preparing to leave. Yu Shangrong smiled faintly. My apologies, but you can't leave. He vanished from sight again and reappeared in front of Yuan. His longevity sword shone with a faint red light as it thrummed in his grip. He knew the moment he exposed his avatar, he could not let a single one of them leave. After all, his golden avatar gave away his identity as a foreigner. He was confident, not stupid. Liang Zidao stabilized his injuries and inhaled deeply before he flew forward. Meanwhile, the Flying Star House's disciples retreated. Liang Zidao raised his voice. Yuan, just go. Leave this to me. He brought a brocade pouch out from his pocket, and from it, he brought out a red pill. Then, he proceeded to put the pill in his mouth and swallowed it. Subsequently, primal chi around him surged and changed. Compared to before, it seemed more violent. Clearly, he was absorbing the primal chi from his surroundings. Tian Buji, you're colluding with people from the Golden Lotus domain. They're foreign tribesmen. If word of this spreads, the Thousand Willow Monastery is surely done for. Liang Zidao said. Before seeing the golden avatar, Tian Buji supported Yu Shangrong unconditionally. However, the golden avatar had truly stunned him. He could not help but hesitate. Yu Shangrong was a foreign tribesman, after all. Wu flew in front of Tian Buji and said, Big brother is a good person. Tian Buji. This isn't a matter of him being a good or a bad person. Liang Zidao was not bothered by Tian Buji's attitude. He said loudly, Yuan, what are you standing around for? Yes. Yuan flew in another direction. When Liang Zidao saw that Yu Shangrong was going to give chase, red energy denser than before emerged from his body. Then, the red energy covered his arms. Do you think you can stop all of us? Liang Zidao shot toward Yu Shangrong like a fired arrow. Yu Shangrong unleashed several energy swords and engaged with Liang Zidao again. The others were shocked to see Liang Zidao was still capable of unleashing such a bold and powerful move after his part of his red lotus had been severed. Moreover, he seemed to be fighting more valiantly than before. Liang Zidao stared at Yu Shangrong. You're powerful, but, unfortunately, you've picked the wrong opponent. While Yu Shangrong focused on his sword's swing, he caught a glimpse of Yuan who had traveled quite a distance away. Liang Zidao followed Yu Shangrong's gaze and saw Yuan. Suddenly, an emerald beam of light shot toward Yuan at lightning speed. What's that? Only Yu Shangrong and Liang Zidao saw this. When the emerald light was upon Yuan, it instantly shot out countless energy sabers. Yuan felt chills on his back. When he turned around, a look of terror appeared on his face. Desolate grade weapon? The energy sabers shot forward and killed Yuan. The sudden change made Liang Zidao frown. He unleashed fiercer streams of energies from his fists and pushed Yu Shangrong away. At this moment, both opponents faced each other from a distance. Yuan. Liang Zidao looked in Yuan's direction. The other disciples from the Flying Star House were also looking at the descending energy sabers in stunned silence. The sabers dropped down like a waterfall. Yuan was nowhere to be seen. Tian Buji had noticed the energy sabers that had suddenly appeared as well. Golden energy sabers. This meant that there was more than one Golden Lotus invader. This was also the reason Liang Zidao pushed Yu Shangrong away and retreated. At this time, the energy sabers faded away. An emerald weapon flew back toward the gazebo and landed in Zhenghai's hand. He placed it back at its spot on his waist. Then, with his hands resting on his back, he looked up and said, "This is supposed to be a fair fight, how can I allow you to call for reinforcements? At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on Zhenghai. Liang Zidao asked, "Who are you?" Zhenghai walked out from the gazebo and slowly walked up into the sky as though he was walking on the ground. When he reached the sky above the gazebo, he drew level with Liang Zidao, Tian Buji, and the others. "You talk too much." Zhenghai flew forward. Yu Shangrong raised his longevity sword and said, "Eldest senior brother, I'm not finished yet." He could tell Zhenghai had grown impatient, judging by how he had used the Great Dark Heaven Memorial to kill Yuan'er. Since Zhenghai had lost at rock paper scissors, he had no choice but to restrain himself. In an effort to compromise, he said, "I'll just kill those who try to leave." "Surely this is acceptable, second junior brother?" Yu Shangrong brought his longevity sword down and smiled faintly. "Yes." The others were stunned speechless again, confused by the nature of the relationship between the duo. Meanwhile, the notification of a reward of 5,000 merit points interrupted Lu Zhou's meditation on the heavenly writing scrolls. He looked at the scenery outside the window as he shook his head and sighed. He did not know how Zhenghai and Yu Shangrong were faring in the Red Lotus domain. Based on what he knew, there had to be elites much stronger than the monk, Fa Kong, in the Red Lotus domain. In Great Yen, his two disciples peerless. However, in the Red Lotus domain, things were not simple. If they were exposed, they would be labeled as foreign tribesmen and would undoubtedly be attacked. However, this was not what he was most worried about. He was more worried about his two disciples' pride and obstinacy. In his opinion, instead of knowing when to retreat, they would recklessly charge forward and fight the powerful opponent they encounter. He had two choices, to go to the Red Lotus domain to look for them or to wait for them to return. How should he choose? Liang Zidao looked at the two of them coldly. From the Great Dark Heaven Memorial released by the Jasper Saber, he knew that the newcomer was not a weakling. These two fellow disciples were clearly not ordinary. His expression turned solemn as he said, "In that case, this will be a fight to the death." The red energy on Liang Zidao's body glowed brighter. Clearly, the medicinal pill he consumed had great effects. Without external help, nobody could have unleashed such explosive strength after having part of their lotus severed. Liang Zidao walked toward Yu Shangrong. Meanwhile, Zhenghai appeared above the flying chariot. He looked at the cultivator who manned the helm before he walked over to a chair at the side and calmly took a seat. He said, "Nobody moves. Or else, you'll die." Zhenghai found this familiar. He had once liked to sit in this position to look at the lands and the mountains. The disciples of the Flying Star House were shocked. Many of those who were hovering outside charged toward him when they saw him. Zhenghai had been watching Yu Shangrong fight for a long time and was itching for a fight as well. He did not even look at the Flying Star House cultivators as he unleashed his energy. Boom. The Flying Star House disciples were sent flying back, spitting out blood in the process. Zhenghai's expression was cold as he looked ahead. Liang Zidao's brows were tightly knitted together. The elite saber user was even more powerful than he had imagined. The saber user was on par with the swordsman in front of him. It seemed like he had run into trouble today. Meanwhile, Tian Buji gulped before he mumbled, "They're clearly 8-leaf cultivators, but why is their strength far stronger than 8-leaf cultivators?" He was confused. Tian Buji was not the only one who was confused. Everyone was confused as well. Liang Zidao cried out as the red energy around his body shone brighter than before, "You killed my disciples. The Flying Star House will never forgive you." Liang Zidao flew over again, almost parallel to the ground. His fists shone red as flames of fury burned in his eyes. Yu Shangrong felt the pressure this time, so he no longer held back. He let go of his longevity sword and joined his palms together. Primal restoration. The plants around Yu Shangrong swayed, and the tiles on the gazebo flew out. The swords in the hands of the Flying Star House's disciples were pulled away. Ji Fengxing's saber and sword rose into the air as well. At this moment, countless energy swords were merging. Li Zidao attacked with his fists with a flurry of movements. He parried the energy swords with his punches. The energy swords were relentless. They continued their assaults as they spun and thrust forward. The sky was covered by Yu Shangrong's energy swords and Liang Zidao's red punches. Tian Buji was greatly shaken when he saw this and hastily ordered, "Stand back." Ji Fengxing wondered out loud in awe, just how powerful are Big Brother's sword techniques. In his eyes, Yu Shangrong became even braver and more powerful as he fought. His understanding of Yu Shangrong was constantly being refreshed.